You have no eye, no feeling for the truly great man. His character, his suffering, his yearning, his fury and his struggle in your behalf are foreign to you. You are unaware that men and women exist who are inherently incapable of oppressing and exploiting you. Men and women want you to be free, really and truly free. You dislike such men and women because they are alien to your nature. They are simple and forthright. They value the truth as much as you value trickery. They see through you, not with contempt but with sorrow at the human condition. But your awareness of being seen through gives you a sense of danger. You recognize their greatness, little man, only when many other little men tell you they are great. You are afraid of great men, their closeness to life and love of life. But the great man loves you as he would love any other animal, as a living creature. He doesn't want you to suffer as you've suffered for thousands of years. He doesn't want you to talk nonsense, as you've done for thousands of years. He doesn't want you to live like a workhorse, because he loves life and wants it to be free from suffering and humiliation. You drive truly great men to despise you, to hide their heads in sorrow at you and your smallness, to avoid you, and worst of all, to pity you. If, little man, you are a psychiatrist, a Lombroso for instance, you brand the truly great man a criminal, or at least a would-be criminal, or a lunatic, because a great man does not, like you, see the aim of life in riches, in socially suitable marriages for his daughters, or in a political career, or in academic honours. So, because he's different from yourself, you call him a genius, or a nut. He, for his part, is quite willing to admit he's not a genius, but only a living creature. You call him asocial because he'd rather be alone with his thoughts than listening to inane chatter at your social functions. You say he's crazy because he spends his money on scientific research instead of investing it in stocks as you do. You dare, little man, in your abysmal degeneracy, to call a simple, straightforward man abnormal. You measure him against yourself and your petty standards of normalcy and find him wanting. You fail to see, little man. You refuse to recognize that you're driving this man, who loves you and wants only to help you, from all social life, because he's drawing room and bar room alike. You've made it unbearable. Who made him what he is today after decades of desperate suffering? You did, with your unscrupulous, your narrow-mindedness, your crooked thinking and your eternal truths, which are incapable of surviving 10 years of social development. Just think of all the certainties you've sworn by in the years between the First and Second World Wars alone. Tell me frankly, how much have you retracted? Nothing, little man. A great man is cautious in his thinking, but once he commits himself to an idea, he thinks far ahead. And you, little man, treat him like a pariah when his ideas prove to be sound and long-lived, and yours a piddling flash in the pan. By making him into a pariah, you sow the terrible seed of loneliness in him. Not the seed that engenders great actions, but the seed of fear, the fear of being misunderstood and abused by you. For you are the people, public opinion, social conscience. Have you, little man, ever stopped to think of the enormous responsibility this implies? Have you ever asked yourself, tell the truth now, whether, from the standpoint of long-term social development, or of nature, or of great human achievement, that of a Jesus, for example, your thinking is right or wrong? No, you've never asked yourself whether your thinking is right and wrong. You ask yourself what your neighbour will say about it, or whether, if you do right, it will cost you money. That's what you ask yourself, little man, and nothing else. After driving the great man into solitude, you forgot what you did to him. You merely talked more nonsense, played another dirty trick, inflicted another deep hurt. You forget. But a great man doesn't forget. He doesn't plot revenge, but tries to understand why you behave so miserably. I know that too is beyond you, but believe me, even if you hurt him any number of times, even if you inflict wounds that can never heal, even if a moment after your petty misdeeds you forget what you've done, the great man suffers for your misdeeds in your stead, not because they are great, but because they are petty. He tries to understand what it is that makes you sling mud at the husband or wife who has disappointed you, torment a child because some vicious neighbour has taken a dislike to him, betray your friends, ridicule the kindly but get what you can out of them, and cringe under the whip. He tries to understand what makes you take what is given, give what is demanded of you, but never give freely and lovingly. What makes you kick those who are down or are on the way down, lie instead of telling the truth, and persecute not lies but the truth? Little man, you're always on the side of the persecutors. To win your favour, little man, To gain your worthless friendship, a great man would have to adapt himself to your ways, to say what you want to hear, to preen himself with your virtues. But he would not be great and true and simple. He would not be a great man if he had your virtues, your language, and your friendship. You can't help seeing that your friends who say what you want to hear have never been great men. You don't believe that your friend could ever do anything great. You despise yourself in secret, even, no, especially when you stand on your dignity, and since you despise yourself, you are unable to respect your friend. You can't bring yourself to believe that anyone you have sat at the table with or shared a house with is capable of great achievement. That is why all great men have been solitary. It is hard to think in your company, little man. One can only think about you or for your benefit, not with you, for you stifle all big, generous ideas. If you're a mother, you say to your thinking child, it's not fit for children. If you're a professor of biology, you say, no serious student can subscribe to that. What? Doubt the existence of germs in the air? If you're a teacher, you say, a well-behaved child doesn't ask impertinent questions. And if you're a wife, you say, a discovery. You've made a discovery. If I were you, I'd go to work and support my family. But when the discovery comes out in the paper, little man, then you believe it, whether you understand it or not. I tell you, little man, you've lost all feeling for the best that is in you. You've stifled it. And when you find something worthwhile in others, in your children, your wife, your husband, your father or mother, you kill it. Little man, you're small, and you want to stay small. How, you ask me, do I know all this? I'll tell you. I have known, shared your experiences. I've known you in myself. As a physician, I've freed you from what is small in you. As an educator, I've often guided you in the path of integrity and openness. I know how bitterly you resist your integrity, what mortal fear comes over you when called upon to follow your own authentic nature. You are not always small, little man. I know you have your great moments, your flights of enthusiasm and exultation, but you lack the perseverance to let your enthusiasm soar, to let your exultation carry you higher and higher. You're afraid to soar, afraid of heights and depths. Nietzsche told you that long ago, far better than I can. He wanted to raise you up to a Superman, to surpass the merely human. His Superman became your Führer, Hitler, and you've remained what you were, the subhuman. I want you to stop being subhuman and become yourself. Yourself, I say. Not the newspaper you read, not your vicious neighbour's opinion, but yourself. I know, and you don't, what you really are deep down. Deep down you are what a deer, your God, your poet, or your philosopher is. But you think you're a member of the VFW, your bowling club, or the Ku Klux Klan. And because you think so, you behave as you do. This too was told you long ago by Heinrich Mann in Germany, by Upton Sinclair and John DePazzo in the United States. But you recognize neither Mann nor Sinclair. You recognize only the heavyweight champion and Al Capone. If given your choice between a library and a fight, you'll undoubtedly go to the fight. You plead for happiness in life, but security means more to you, even if it costs you your backbone or wrecks your whole life. Since you've never learned to seize upon happiness, to enjoy it and safeguard it, you lack the courage of integrity. Shall I tell you, little man, what kind of man you are? You listen to commercials on the radio, advertisements for laxatives, toothpaste, shoe polish, deodorants, and so on, but you're unaware of the abysmal stupidity, the abominable bad taste of the siren's tones calculated to catch your ear. Have you ever listened closely to a nightclub entertainer's jokes about you, about himself and your whole wretched world? Listen to your advertisements for better bowel movements and learn who and what you are. Listen, little man. Every single one of your petty misdeeds throws a light on the wretchedness of human life. Every one of your petty actions diminishes the hope of improving your lot just a little more. That is ground for sorrow, little man, for deep, heartbreaking sorrow. To avert such sorrow, you make silly little jokes. That's what you call your sense of humour. You hear a joke about yourself and you join in the laughter. You don't laugh because you appreciate humour at your own expense. You laugh at the little man without suspecting that you are laughing at yourself, that the joke is on you. And all the millions of little men fail to realise that the joke is on them. Why have you been laughed at so heartily, so openly, so maliciously down through the centuries? Have you ever noticed how ridiculous the common people are made to look in the movies? I will tell you why you are laughed at, little man. Because I take you seriously. Very seriously. Invariably, you miss the truth in your thinking. You remind me of the whimsical sharpshooter who purposefully misses the bullseye by a hair's breadth. You disagree? I'll prove it. You could have become the master of your existence long ago if your thinking aimed at the truth. I'll give you an example of your thinking. It's all the fault of the Jews, you say. What's a Jew, I ask. People with Jewish blood, you say. How do you distinguish Jewish blood from other blood? The question baffles you. You hesitate. Then you say, I meant the Jewish race. What's race, I ask. Race? That's obvious. Just as there's a Germanic race, there's a Jewish race. What are the characteristics of the Jewish race? The Jew has black hair, a long hooked nose and sharp eyes. The Jews are greedy and capitalistic. Have you ever seen a southern Frenchman or an Italian side by side with a Jew? Can you distinguish between them? No, not really. Then what's a Jew? His blood picture is the same as everyone else's. His appearance is no different from that of a Frenchman or an Italian. On the other hand, have you ever seen any German Jews? They look like Germans. What's a German? A German is a member of the Nordic race, the Nordic Aryan race. Are the Indians Aryans? Yes. Are they Nordics? No. Are they blonde? No. See? You don't even know what a Jew or a German is, but Jews do exist. Of course Jews exist. So do Christians and Mohammedans. That's right, I meant the Jewish religion. Was Roosevelt a Dutchman? No. Why do you call a descendant of David a Jew if you don't call Roosevelt a Dutchman? The Jews are different. What's different? I don't know. That's the kind of rubbish you talk, little man. And with such rubbish you set up armed gangs that kill 10 million people for being Jews. Though you can't even tell me what a Jew is. That's why you're laughed at. Why anybody with anything serious to do steers clear of you. That's why you're up to your neck in muck. It makes you feel superior to call someone a Jew. It makes you feel superior because you feel inferior. You feel inferior because you yourself are exactly what you want to kill off in the people you call Jews. That's just a sampling of the truth about you, little man. When you contemptuously call someone a Jew, your sense of your own littleness is revealed. I discovered that only recently. You call anyone who arouses too much or too little respect in you a Jew. And as if you'd been sent down to earth by some higher power, you take it on yourself to decide who is a Jew. I contest that right, regardless of whether you're a little Aryan or a little Jew. No one but myself is entitled to say what I am. I am a biological and cultural mongrel and proud of it. In mind and body, I am a product of all classes and races and nations. I don't pretend to be racially or socially pure like you, or a chauvinist like you, petty fascist of all nations, races and classes. I'm told that you didn't want the Jewish engineer in Palestine because he was uncircumcised. I have nothing more in common with Jewish fascists than with any other fascists. I am moved by no feeling for the Jewish language, Jewish religion, or Jewish culture. I believe in the Jewish God no more than in the Christian or Indian God, but I know where you get your God. I don't believe that the Jews are God's chosen people. I believe that someday the Jewish people will lose themselves among the masses of human animals on this planet, and that this will be a good thing for them and their descendants. You don't like to hear that, little Jewish man. You harp on your Jewishness because you despise yourself and those close to you as Jews. The Jew himself is the worst Jew-hater of all. That's an old truth. But I don't despise you and I don't hate you. I simply have nothing in common with you, at any rate no more than with a Chinese or a raccoon, namely our common origin in cosmic matter. Why do you stop at Shem, little Jew? Why not go back to protoplasm? To my mind, life begins with plasmatic contraction, not with rabbinic theology. It took many millions of years for you to evolve from a jellyfish to a terrestrial biped. You have been living in bodily rigidity, your present aberration, for only 6,000 years. It will take you 100 or 500 or 5,000 years to rediscover the nature in you, the jellyfish in you.